When I said good morning, my daughter replied with a beaming smile. "Mom, it's today, right? Moving day. We're going to our new home today, aren't we?" Seeing her face light up with excitement, all my worries instantly melted away. I've taken care of the credit card procedures and everything's all set. Holding my daughter's eager hand, I began to get ready. This is a personal account by Stella, 34 years old, a novelist. My name is Stella, and I'm 34. I've been married to Hans for almost a decade now. We're blessed with a daughter named Mally, who's now 7. Currently, I earn my living as a novelist. I've always had a passion for writing, and once upon a time, I even won an award in a mystery novel competition. Nowadays, I juggle several monthly series and lead a hectic life. Hans and I met at a company I previously worked for. When I began making good money as a novelist, he almost simultaneously quit his job. Since then, he's been mostly lazying around at home all day. But on that day, to my surprise, he was dressed in a suit which was unusual for him. I hadn't heard of any plans he had, so I asked him where he was headed. He looked startled for a moment, then said he was going for an interview. An interview? For what kind of job? Well, obviously, for a job. Been thinking maybe it's time for me to get back to work. That sounds great. I hope it goes well. When I made a light-hearted comment, for some reason, he looked away nervously and left the house. At that time, I genuinely believed he was going for a job interview. I had hopes that maybe he was finally taking the initiative, considering the family. However, Hans didn't come home until 2 a.m. that night. With a deadline looming, I was up late working. When I heard him come in, I went to the living room only to find him asleep on the couch, reeking of alcohol and perfume. I spotted his unlocked phone next to him and decided to check it. To my astonishment, Hans was having an affair, and the person he was seeing was my best friend Julia. The shock nearly made me faint. I tried to hold back the tears and sobs that were threatening to spill. It seems they went to a famous restaurant known for its stunning nighttime views today. But Julia's supposed to have a husband. The shock of being betrayed by the two I trusted was overwhelming. Tears welled up naturally, and I held back my sobs with all my might. I took a moment to compose myself, being careful not to wake up Hans, as I thought about my next move. Taking a deep breath, I went through the messages and transferred all the evidence of the affair to my own phone. The next morning, Hans acted as if nothing had happened. I brought up his late return, considering he said he had an interview. He evasively avoided my gaze and after pretending to recall said, "Oh yeah, after the interview, I ran into a friend and we just hung out and had some drinks." When I asked who this friend was, he replied grumpily that I wouldn't know them, so there's no point in explaining. Hans concealed the truth about Julia. The fact he lied indicated his guilt. One has to hide the truth only when there's something to hide. A month has passed since that day. I've been indecisive about confronting Hans about the affair. Once I bring it up, it'll undoubtedly create a rift in our marriage. If it was just me, I would have slapped the evidence in his face and asked for a divorce. But what holds me back is our daughter Mally. Taking a father away from a 7-year-old daughter who has adored him since she was little is just too cruel. Recently, since I've been cooped up in my room working, Hans has been taking the opportunity to go out more often. But this is the perfect chance. While he's out, I can gather evidence of his affair. In his room, I found a few unfamiliar receipts. It seems he bought luxury items for women. I couldn't find any of those items in his room. Of course, I didn't receive any of them. That means he must have already given them to someone else. Yes, Hans had been buying branded items for Julia. But here's the big question. How does an unemployed guy like him have that kind of money? The allowance I give him every month just doesn't add up, no matter how you slice it. Curious, I decided to follow him. I'd probably be away from home for about half a day. I asked my brother Rick to look after Mally. I didn't want Rick to know about Hans' affair, so I lied to Rick. Rick seemed suspicious of my sudden request to look after Mally, so I told him I just really wanted to go shopping alone today. "Don't you always shop online?" Yeah, but today I want to get something that's store exclusive. Alright, but don't be out too late. Mally gets lonely. Thanks to Rick's help, I was able to tail Hans successfully. There was Hans arm in arm with my best friend Julia. Seeing the two of them together made my heart ache. They went happily into a luxury brand store, probably buying another gift. But what shocked me even more came after. Seeing the credit card Hans used to pay gave me chills. It took me a moment to realize. It was the secondary card that I kept. I always keep my main card in my wallet, but the secondary one was in a drawer at home. Hans had secretly taken and used it. For the past few months, I hadn't used that secondary card, and I'd only checked the drawer a few times. And lately, with work equipment and furniture, I've been shopping a lot with my main card. Both the secondary and main cards pull from the same bank account. Because I was so busy, I never noticed the irregular withdrawals. On top of the shock of the affair, this additional betrayal had me shaking. All feelings of love for Hans had vanished. I know it's partly my fault for not noticing, but I can't forgive him. I took pictures of their affair and went home. From then on, I kept thinking about how to get back at him. I checked his usual computer when he wasn't around. It's synced with his smartphone so I can see his conversations with Julia in real time. I found out they planned a 4-day, 3-night trip to Hawaii. I knew their itinerary. It's the perfect chance for the revenge I've been thinking about. But there's one thing I need to consider. Mally. It'd be hard to execute my plan without letting Mally know about Hans' affair, so I sought Rick's help again. I asked him if he could look after Mally for the entire 4 days. All 4 days? Yes, I have some stuff to take care of. Stuff. Huh. Rick's tone suggested he was onto something. As I was pondering how to respond, Rick bluntly said, Stella, don't try to handle this on your own. Hans is cheating, isn't he? I was speechless. Regaining my composure, I asked Rick how he knew. He said he heard from Mally. While Mally may not understand what cheating means, she noticed that her father was close with a woman other than her mom, and she sensed this was hurting me. I always tried to act cheerful around Mally, controlling my emotions, but according to Rick, Mally could see the hurt in me, and she'd likely know who caused it. What are you planning to do? Stay with him? If we get a divorce, I think Mally will be devastated. Just as I mumbled that, Mally, who was supposed to be in the next room, appeared. It's okay, Mom. I'm on your side. I don't want to be with someone who makes you sad. As long as I have you, I'm good. I have such a supportive family. Holding back tears, I expressed my gratitude to Mally and Rick multiple times. Thus, thanks to the two of them, my resolve to take revenge on Hans was solidified. On the day Hans planned to sneak off on the trip, my child and I began preparations to move. We got Rick's help to pack while Hans was away, and on the eve of our departure, I gave my husband one last chance. Hans was in his room, prepping for his trip tomorrow. He looked excited and seemed to be packing with joy. When I asked about his luggage, he said he was going on a trip with some friends starting tomorrow. A trip? Did you mention this before? Nah, it was a last-minute plan. It's all within my monthly allowance, so it's all good. He was emitting a don't ask any further vibe, but that wouldn't work on me anymore. I confronted him with an intensity I'd never shown before. Hey, are you really going with just friends? Hans was visibly shaken, his face tense, but he persisted in lying, insisting they were just friends. Alright, just don't get carried away, okay? With that, I left his room. If he had been honest at that moment, I would have opted for a divorce, but tried to end things amicably. Even if he did cheat, he was someone I once loved, and we had many good memories. But after being betrayed like this, there's no way I can forgive him. It's time to end our relationship for my future and for Mally's. There's no need to hold back with Hans, who kept lying. The next morning, Hans had already left. I opened the drawer, and after confirming he took my credit card as usual, I quickly called the credit card company to report it lost and to have it deactivated. Then, Mally woke up. When I greeted her good morning, she excitedly exclaimed, Mom, today's the day, right? Moving day. We're going to our new home today, right? Seeing her sparkling eyes, all my worries and frustrations melted away. Alright, the credit card's taken care of, and now let's move to our new place. Yay! Can't wait for a new home. With Rick's help, our move went smoothly. While my and Mally's belongings were taken to the new place, I had Hans' stuff delivered somewhere special. The next day, as I was relaxing with Mally and Rick in our new home, I received a call from Hans. Listen, it's turning out to be more expensive than I thought. Can you wire me some money? I knew this would happen. The card was disabled and he was struggling to pay for things on his trip. Without mentioning the card directly, he slyly asked for money. I told him I couldn't spare any and refused to send it. Come on, if you don't, I'll be the one not enjoying the trip. Only one? Don't you mean two? Caught off guard by my question, he stammered. You wanted to show Julia all the best places, huh? Too bad. The card you took from me is no longer usable, so give it up. Pretending as if he knew nothing about Julia and the card, Hans played dumb, but the panic in his voice was unmistakable. I already know about you and Julia. No, it's not like that. I was beyond livid with my husband's continued attempts to lie. I let out all my pent-up anger, not caring that Rick and Mally were around. Stop making excuses. You, with a family, got involved with another woman, and you used my card. Do you realize how low that is? I was seething with anger. I hope you and that homewrecker fall to the pits of hell. Never show your face in front of me and Mally again. I hung up abruptly. Then the phone rang again, this time from Julia. Listen up, Stella. What the hell have you done? Did you send Hans' stuff to my place? That's right. I'd sent all of Hans' belongings to Julia's house, addressed to her husband. I included a detailed letter explaining everything. Julia was livid, yelling over the phone. What the hell, Stella? My husband found out and he's furious. I told her I cheated because I'm married, but her anger didn't subside. How could you, my best friend, do something so disgusting? I totally misjudged you. That should be my line. You, my trusted friend, were having an affair with my husband. How could you think I'd forgive that? She quickly said it wasn't an affair, just a fling. She belittled Hans, saying there's no way she'd seriously date a jobless loser. But whether it was serious or just a fling doesn't matter to me. I told her I intended to divorce. I will never forgive you. Expect a hefty claim for damages. Whoa, hold on. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I can't afford to pay damages. Her pleading didn't change my mind. I told her that just because she's a housewife and can't afford to pay doesn't mean I don't want the money. I doubt Julia's husband would step up to pay for her. It might seem cold-hearted towards my best friend, but she should face the consequences of her actions. I promptly hung up and blocked her. Afterwards, I went through a lawyer to finalize my divorce and demanded compensation from both Hans and Julia. From Hans, I also demanded child support and reimbursement for the credit card charges he racked up without my permission. I heard Julia is now in debt from the compensation. She faced her own divorce and was reportedly kicked out of her house. She apparently tried to go back to her parents' house, but they turned her away when they found out about her affair. Now she's supposedly working in a nighttime job where she lives on site. At first, Hans seemed to rely on Julia, but Julia blamed him for causing her own divorce and cut ties with him. Right now, he's juggling multiple part-time jobs and having a physically demanding life. Hans had been lazying around unemployed for a while. It probably won't be easy for him to find a decent job. So far, he hasn't missed any payments for damages or child support. If he ever does, I plan to use every means necessary to collect. As for me, I'm living peacefully with my daughter Mally in our new home. Mally is growing up fast and I'm constantly learning from her. I plan to continue living a life full of love without ever letting her down.